Well, welcome back to another episode of the Grow Your Clinic podcast. Jack O'Brien here with you again today in the host seat, and stoked to have you joining us wherever you're listening. iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google, wherever that might be. If you're driving or exercising, or maybe just sitting back enjoying a coffee, as I am today, a Kenyan filter. We're continuing our clinic owner spotlight, and I'm really excited to have another clinic owner with us. Got Marcio Ferreira, the director, founder of Movement 101. Marcio, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks, Jack. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited for today.
It is my pleasure. I'm really excited. You've got a really inspiring journey as a clinic owner. And as we speak at the time of this recording, it's late August and you're in and around the airport in Sydney with your clinics. So you're in the COVID hotspots and we'll be able to lean on some of those stories. But overwhelmingly, your journey is going to be a whole lot of fun. Before we dive into that, I've got a couple of icebreaker questions for you. Ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. Number one, what are you reading or learning right now?
I'm actually doing a Facebook ads course and a videography course on Founder, just rather than reading something right now. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, Nathan Chan, isn't it, at Founder?
That's right. Yeah.
Perfect. They're legends. Good stuff. Number two, who inspires you?
A lot of people inspire me, I think. I would say family first. My dad inspires me. His work ethic has taught me a lot. He's worked very hard over his life and a lot of hours, and that's partly what's inspired me to work hard as well.
Yeah, nice. What industry or career is your dad in?
He's worked in a lot of things. At the moment, construction, but I always remember him working really hard, and for a lot of years he worked 7 days a week, and it's not that that's always good, but it's helped me focus, and it's also helped me learn that we shouldn't only work and we shouldn't forget to have fun as well. So, yeah.
Number three, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
I actually wanted to be an engineer of some sort. I was very much into IT and computers and technology. So for a long time, I was more thinking of becoming an engineer, and then towards end of high school, I changed to healthcare and sports, and ended up going down the physio route.
Nice. And finally, what's a motto that you live by?
Not an official motto, but I would say don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think you only make good decisions after making a lot of bad decisions. So
I love it. And it probably, one thing that I do know about you is you're a learner, right? And to think about, I recall when we first met each other and came across Clinic Mastery, Facebook ads was something that you were learning and was doing super well and was a key part of your early journey. And to hear that you're still investing in learning in Facebook ads is, for me, that's bloody inspiring. So thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
No problem. Yeah. Thanks.
So connect the dots for us. How does one little tacker who's keen to build stuff, probably playing with Lego, and then becomes a physio? Connect the dots for us. How did you become a physio?
Well, I think I got very much into sports throughout high school, much fitter than I am now, and and I also had a big interest in healthcare and biology, but I thought about going down the medicine route for a while, but didn't really see myself living that sort of lifestyle. And physio sort of seemed like something in between, a bit of healthcare, a bit of sports. Obviously, a lot of young physios, the dream is to be a sports physio. Yep. So it just seemed like a good fit at the time, although I had never even seen a physio up until finishing my course. So I had never been in a clinic.
Advisor books.
That's right. Yeah, I read about it and I thought, well, that could be me, and went for it. So.
And was the journey into uni and then graduating uni all smooth sailing?
Yeah, I think the first year or two, I sort of had to think about whether it really was for me. I did my degree overseas in Portugal, and the first year seemed very slow and sort of content heavy, but not with things that I was really interested in. So I did think about whether it was for me, but kept pushing through and doing it, and I don't regret it. I think it was a good decision in the end.
And did you practice in Portugal or straight to Australia?
I did. I got the dream job straight out of uni. Totally fluked it. Ended up working for a professional soccer team
Right.
I think because I could speak English and they wanted someone that, that had other languages. So
I'm sure you're a good physio as well.
I'm sure. It was, yeah, like it was a really steep learning curve straight out of uni, straight into a position like that. Really loved it, but it was a lot of hard work as well.
Yeah.
And
On that, so many people are thinking, "Oh, sports physio sounds awesome." What were the pros, but also what were some of the realities?
well, the pros was that I loved the sport. I loved the game. So being involved in it was awesome. Traveling with the team. We were on an island off the coast, so we'd fly every 2 weeks for games and go to stadiums that I'd watched on TV. It was amazing,
Okay.
but it was a 20. I wouldn't say a 24/7, but it was a 7 day a week job. All of the players that most of them were from Brazil and from Africa, and they were all away from home. So the physio is sort of the person on the team that everyone trusts. Like the coach trusts them, the players trust them, the directors. So you're sort of the person that everyone comes to. We'd have players that would bump their head like literally in the middle of the night and call me rather than go to hospital, right? So you sort of become the problem solver, but it does, especially if you're a young physio and you don't really know what you're doing, it can be tricky.
Are we supposed to know what we're doing as old physios?
Well, you're supposed to, right?
Right. So, okay. And what was the then journey from professional sports into private practice?
Well, Portugal was going through a bit of a financial crisis at the time. So, there was a lot of politics involved in sports, and the club that I was at was going through a little bit of difficulties. I was there for a year, moved to another club, and then started hearing that they were going bankrupt, interestingly. And I had just signed for them, and then some friends and like my sister wanted to come back to Australia. I had grown up here. Some friends were thinking of coming too, and then we thought, well, why not? Let's go. My wife, my girlfriend at the time, was kind of interested too, and we just tried it. We came and wanted to experience it and see how it would go for us.
Mm-hmm. And did you step straight into private practice or the public system?
Well, when I first arrived, I didn't have my physio license here yet, so I had 6 months of. I think I worked at a cafe actually for 6 months and tried to get all the paperwork sorted, and then went straight into private practice after that, and did about 2.5 to 3 years of private practice working for another company, and then I kind of just I felt like, so my wife's a physio also. She left a job that she really liked to come to Australia, and when she got here, it was the first time she left Portugal, and her English wasn't amazing at the time, and she was stuck doing a lot of jobs that she didn't like. And then she got into Pilates, and I thought that really it's either we do something, like either I can get her and help her get into a job that she likes, or this isn't going to go well and we're probably going to have to go back. So when we had the opportunity to set up our own practice and to allow her to try and get back into a work that she enjoyed, we just went for it.
Okay, so the key driver of opening your own clinic was really to create ideal jobs for yourselves in the first instance?
Yeah, it really was, especially for her. I was happy. I was working for Physio Inc. at the time, and they were a growing company. They were inspiring, and I was quite happy there. But at the same time, Claudia was growing her Pilates business. So she was running Pilates classes. She didn't have a physio license yet, and we sort of needed to push that and grow that. So it was the right time.
Interesting. Had you had much business or commercial background at all?
I was always into business, so I was always interested in it, but I had never run a business. My parents had owned hospitality, like a cafe, and I had worked in hospitality business before, but never like a healthcare business. But I did have good examples and see other clinics doing well, and I was always quite interested in it. I always knew I'd want to go down the business route.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Tell us, how did the first year or two go?
It was a lot of work. So it was a lot more work than I think most people can imagine. When we started, I was still working a full-time job in Penrith. So I lived around 45 minutes away from Penrith. So I'd drive there, work there, leave that job and go to Walleye Creek, which was about an hour away.
On the side of Sydney.
On the other side. And then I'd work there from 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. as soon as I could get there till 8, 9 o'clock.
Right.
And then we'd drive for 45 minutes home, cook, we'd be cooking dinner at 9:30 p.m. and, we'd be dead, and then do it, same thing the next day. And we did that for a good 6 to 12 months. Mm-hmm. I sort of look back now and was like, I don't know if I'd have the energy to do that now. I mean, we've got a daughter now, so it'd be harder, but we did work a lot of hours to get it off the ground and get it going.
And that seemed to have boded well for building a client base, referrals, partnerships, etc. Yeah,
it did. I mean, look, we had to make it work, right? So once we committed to it and built the clinic, we had to make it work. A lot of the time was spent treating clients, and I was lucky enough that I didn't have to put in a lot of extra work when it was just me practicing to get more clients in. I had no idea about what it meant to run a business. I just knew how to be a physio. Mm-hmm. So the clients would come in, and I was fairly good at retaining, and we grew to the point where I was actually looking back at it last week, because we've just opened a clinic at Waterloo, and in partnership with one of our physios, and he's been working really hard, and it got me thinking. And I went back and looked at what I was doing, and I think my busiest week I had seen close to 100 appointments, and these were half-hour appointments, and I was like, I don't know how I did that, really.
Makes me tired thinking about it. Okay, so maybe talk us through the journey of how did you go hiring your first team member, and what was that progression and growth like?
Yeah, so I was getting really tired, and I was seeing a lot of clients, so I felt like I needed to bring someone in. I didn't know about finances and benchmarks and when we should be spending on what. I knew I needed someone to help me, so we put out an ad, and we ended up hiring a young physio who came in, and he was quite hungry. I wasn't the best mentor, because I was it's tricky, right? You become so focused on the fact that you sort of need the money coming in, because you're just starting. It's your first big expense, a wage. Right. And it's sort of scary. And then at the same time, when that happened, it's Murphy's Law, right? So that the new clients just dried up all of a sudden, like the week we hired. They didn't dry up, but they dropped. So all of a sudden I was, it was stressful, it was hard, but it got me more interested in learning about business. And I think that was when I hired my first business coach and went down that route of trying to learn what I needed to be doing. How do I motivate my first team member? How do I grow the clinic? How do I learn to market? How do I learn to understand my finances? And it sort of started there.
Mm. And so how long ago are we talking, or what year roughly was this?
So 2015, we started the clinic, and then the first hire would have been towards the end of that year or early 2016.
Okay. Well, fast forward now for us, paint us the picture of Movement 101. How many locations, team members, what's the scope of your practice 6 years later?
So 6 years later, so we've got 4 locations at the moment. We've just opened our most recent location. We rebranded in the meantime. So back then we were Walleye Creek Physiotherapy and Pilates. And then as we grew, we thought, well, having a name that actually fits for every location would probably be cool. So we've rebranded into Movement 101. We wanted to be very movement focused. So have not only physios, but every other type of allied health that is related to movement. And we've got a team of 28. And we're now going down the route of having or looking at pathways, whether they're, or career pathways for our practitioners, whether they're, becoming better educators or specializing in a field, or even co-owning a practice with us, which is what we've done recently. So there's been a lot of mistakes and money that we didn't have to spend that was spent, but and I'm sure there still will be, but we've definitely come far, I think. Yeah,
it's unreal, mate. Appreciate you sharing, and congratulations. It's no mean feat to, in 6 years or so, go from 0 to not multiple locations, 28 team members. It's a real testament to hard work and learning the lessons. So well done. Maybe we'll talk through some of those lessons, but what does an average week in the life of a clinic owner look like for you? Are you still seeing patients? What's it like to lead a team? What's a week look like?
I have trouble saying no to people, so I'm still seeing some patients. That people that have probably been seeing me from the beginning. So some of my first clients, and that they still want to see me, probably because they just enjoy chatting with me more than anything else. But
And you probably get a lot of joy from that as well, right?
that's right. Yeah, it is. It still feels good to step into the treatment room or the gym. The difficulty is when we is turning off from the business side of things when we're treating clients, and that's why I probably started treating less, because it's hard to concentrate on someone when you're still getting messages coming in and other people needing you. But yeah, I'll still do a little bit of that, maybe 1 or 2 appointments a week. But then I'll work from home a lot, and continue to learn and look at our systems and try and support the team. So I think over time really it becomes about your team and learning how you can support them so that they enjoy their job. And the more they enjoy it, the better they'll perform, and the longer they'll stay with you. So so the day-to-day would be working from home in the morning. I like to be present, so I still do in-person meetings as much as I can, except obviously during COVID, but I'll try and come to the clinics, and even if I can just come and have lunch with them and have casual chats and catch up with everyone, I'll do that as much as I can. And now trying to learn to turn off a bit, and trying to learn to have some time off as well, which has been really hard.
So if I can pull on a couple of those threads with the turning off thing, you work with your wife, right? And you've got a little one at home. How do you manage that tension of being in business as well as family?
I should probably dedicate more time to my family. Like, look, I obviously I'm there, I'm present, so it's not like I'm away. But I'm on the phone a lot, so I find myself, my daughter wanting to play with me, and I've still got that tendency to be checking Slack, and so that's probably my greatest difficulty at the moment. But I feel like I'm very fortunate that I don't have to be stuck at the office if I don't want to, or if I don't need to. So if I do need to take a day to take her to the park, or to dance lessons, and I can. So yeah, very fortunate, and it's a work in progress, learning to balance it all.
Lead the business with your wife, co-lead it?
Yes, yeah. So she's at the moment she's mainly working from home. So ever since Lara was born, she sort of stepped back from running Pilates sessions. Right about the time she started getting morning sickness right in the middle of the classes, she had to stop. And then over time, she's sort of learned a bit more about bookkeeping and Zero. So she's been doing a lot of that and a lot of the dashboarding from home, and helping run the admin side and the admin team. So we'll share an office most of the time, but I'm sort of coming to the clinics a bit more frequently.
And if we can then touch on the team leadership side of things, you can't be in 4 locations all at once, and 28 people is a lot of names to remember, let alone be invested in their growth. How do you lead effectively, or what are some of the keys that you've found to be able to be across your team effectively?
Yeah, look, this was actually one of the biggest reasons that I initially joined Clinic Mastery, was to learn more about how to run a team effectively and learn how to scale that and grow it. We've got a team leader at each location. We now have an admin team leader as well. Learning what responsibilities to give to the team leaders was hard, and not the letting go, but just giving other people extra tasks. I always find like I just want to do it.
Is that because you enjoy doing it, or you're the best at it? Obviously, with all humility, but how do you navigate that?
I do enjoy doing it. I only realize that I should pass it on to other people when I'm just crazy busy and having trouble coping. But yeah, so team leader at each location, they obviously still a work in progress in learning and adding tasks and things that they need to be doing. But most of them are doing, they're all doing an awesome job. They now independently reach out and find new businesses and people to relationships that we can set up for referrals. They help mentor the team, and they've all got access to their dashboards, and I've now learned how to go over those dashboards with them and sort of work from afar a little bit more.
So when you grow to the extent that you have, there's There's two keys to that. There's a number of keys, but specifically, you need more team members and more clients.
Yes.
How have you gone about attracting great team and continuing to attract a large volume of new clients?
We've been quite lucky in terms of recruitment, I think. So we haven't. I know a lot of, especially in physio and in allied healthcare, a lot of businesses are having trouble with recruiting. We've been lucky enough that we've mostly had people wanting to work with us. I feel like the more we grow, the easier it's become too, because now we've got our own team members referring people that they know, which makes it easier. We've invested a lot into having really cool spaces to work in, as in like our clinics are quite modern. Beautiful. We've got really big gym spaces that I feel like that does attract people nowadays. They want to work.
Was that a deliberate investment to go, we want to create beautiful spaces so that it attracts people?
It was both from a recruitment point of view, but also from a patient client point of view. We've wanted to be like, we've never wanted to be the cheapest clinic in our suburb. So we've wanted to charge a bit more, but also provide more.
Which is gutsy, right? Because your fit outs, I'm sure, are not cheap, but it's paid off in the long run.
Yeah, they're very expensive. But yes, I think it is worthwhile, because if you have good team members, then you don't really need as many new clients either. And if you can attract those good, the talent, those good people to work with you, you'll be happier. And I feel like nowadays people do look for a bit more in healthcare. They don't, like, obviously no one wants to pay a lot of money if they don't have to, but they are willing to pay more for a good experience, for a less clinical experience. So even with our last clinic, we've deliberately really thought out about how our floor plan and our fit out should look like, so that it fits with our brand and it fits with what we're charging. So now we've got a concept for moving forward. If we are to continue scaling, we know how to roll it out quite easily.
That's awesome, mate. I think you've done a super job on that branding angle for sure. Can you tell us to what degree or what role has Clinic Mastery played in this journey?
Interestingly, when I joined Clinic Mastery, so I had two other business coaches, had learnt from both, but had sort of felt like they were having trouble progressing further. With Clinic Mastery, I was really, really interested in learning about team and culture. I thought I knew a lot about finances. And then as soon as I joined, I feel like, one of the things I've learned the most was actually learning to understand my finances and being in control. Especially, Shane's the dashboard master. He's really pushed me in that sense, in understanding Xero and understanding budgeting. So really, like, it's become really important. I think the clarity that I've obtained and learned from that point of view has allowed us to start forecasting ahead and knowing when we need to hire, when we need to market more, when we know we can afford to grow and invest in another location. So that's been a really important base. And then definitely the team, we've doubled our team since we've joined CM. So learning to manage that, I feel will continuously be very important for us if we are to continue growing. And without that, it would definitely be very difficult to do what we're doing right now.
Yeah, crazy. Thank you, mate. And so, talking about management, and if we segue to crisis management, we're in the thick at the moment, the end of August 2021, of COVID happening in Sydney. What's it been like to be in one of the epicenters? Has it impacted you personally and your clinic?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It's made me realize that communication is really important. And the more open and honest I can be with my team, the more they're gonna help me and help each other. Last year when it all started, I think we all went through a little mini mental breakdown and crisis. And I found myself just really resorting to being really honest, and to the point where I was showing the whole team our profit and loss and showing them where we were at and what it was all meaning from a financial point of view. but also trying to, and I made a few mistakes, but trying to understand their point of view and the fact that they weren't feeling necessarily safe and they were scared, and some were from overseas and wanting to go see their family. And so it was a difficult but really interesting journey, and has led to growth. And we all, when it first started, we all really came together, and within a week we had started, and I think everyone did this though, but we had started an online app, and we thought it was going to be the greatest thing in the world and a great idea, until every single gym on the planet started doing it as well. And but the truth is, the team really did it, and they were working really hard, and before they knew it, they were actually really busy again with clients. And it's led to growth. I think a lot of our doubling in team has happened since then, interestingly.
Why is that, do you reckon?
I don't know. I mean, I think healthcare businesses did grow after the initial round one of COVID. My strategy, interestingly, when it all started, we started having a lot of physios come to our clinic for the first time ever and just hand in their CV, right? So a lot of young physios lost their job when the first lockdown happened. And my theory was always the businesses that do survive this are going to do well. So, and this sounds kind of evil, but I thought, if we take some market share now, then really what's one of the things that slows you the most in a healthcare business? It's having trouble recruiting, right? So if we have the capacity to hire now, if we are getting busy, then it probably means we'll have more market share on the end. And then we did that. So obviously first there was a dip, there was no work. And then as that work started to come back and we got busy, we were aggressive with hiring. So, with that theory in mind, let's hire now, the clients are coming back, things are getting busy, they're getting under control, let's bring in new team members. And I started finding that the more team members I bring in, the more new clients I get. So I got to a point where I was literally okay, well, I've got 3-4 rooms that aren't being used yet. Let's just hire for them and figure it out. And we did, and they got full and they got busy. So yeah.
But how does that bode for you now? You've been aggressive, and if I can pull you up, I don't think it's evil. I think it comes from a place of good intent from you guys. So that's awesome. But now we're in lockdown 2.
Yes.
How's that playing out, the aggressive recruitment?
Well, I mean, look, we're not recruiting as much now because the rooms are full, but we're lucky we've got multiple locations so we can move people around. So that's helped. One of our locations has been hit harder. So we were doing some work for a few other companies. We're contracting and doing work for Qantas and Amazon, doing pre-employment tests, and around the airport. A lot of that work's gone, and that's slowed down. So our botany clinic, which is sort of closer to the airport, probably due to the demographic as well, it has slowed down. We've had to move one of the physios there, or we've split him between there and another clinic. That's helped, but obviously the strategy is different right now. It's not aggressive hiring. It's more, the clinics really, they were just before this lockdown, they were at capacity with their, with physios, with staff. So now it's, let's see what we can do to keep people full and to keep them engaged. I think the mindset right now is different too. Most of the team's just really tired. They've avoided taking a holiday, some of them for the past year, because they wanted to go overseas or they wanted to travel. So right now it's more about learning to support the team that we do have and waiting for everyone to get vaccinated, hopefully soon.
So it sounds like most of your role really these days is nurturing, leading, and creating pathways for your team, and then continually creating opportunities to recruit. It's mostly people, leadership, and management, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Definitely is. Especially one of the things that I've been doing a lot of work on has been on trying to create those pathways and figuring out what those careers could look like, because a lot of young physios come into the profession thinking that, especially in private practice, there's not a lot of a career. There's, they become a physio when they start working, and then years later they're still a physio. So we've been trying to get creative and figure out ways to create those pathways and objective ways to show them what their earning potential could be, and what their role could transform into. I think it does get easier as you grow. Obviously, there's more positions that that you can create as you grow. So right now, that's probably what's going to drive our growth the most. It's trying to create systems and a big enough company that we can create growth and progression and motivation for our team.
It's unreal. I love it. Hey, if you had some words of wisdom for two types of clinic owners, say that solo startup, early days clinic owner, but also the one now where multiple locations, 20 plus team members, what words of wisdom would you have for those two ends of the spectrum?
I think so for the solo clinic owner, I think mainly assessing your goals early on, and obviously these can change. When I started, the initial goal was just to run a clinic, right? Like I was buying myself a job and I was happy with that. I soon realized that it was hard work and that I wanted a team. So the sooner you can start learning about that and preparing yourself, and the easier your own life will be. And definitely not being afraid to risk and to try things. I think also, for a bigger clinic, or for an owner of a bigger clinic, I think it would come down to the same thing. Like don't be afraid to make mistakes. I feel like I've experienced the most growth after making wrong decisions, and a lot of the people that I know that have been successful in businesses, whether in healthcare or not, they've made a lot of bad decisions before making good decisions, and they probably wouldn't have made a lot of those good decisions if they hadn't tried a lot of things first. So, try things, when it comes to marketing, try a lot of different avenues, figure out which ones work for you and your location for your team. The same thing in terms of, mentoring and growing your team. Obviously, learn from your coaches and from people that inspire you, but try different things. Like we've had, systems in the past that really didn't work for our team. They had the opposite effect, even though they were working for other people. But if I hadn't tried it, I would never have known. So making those mistakes have led to me wanting to figure out how to fix them, and then coming up with better systems and wanting to learn more. And that's helped drive our growth as well.
That's awesome, mate. Really appreciate you sharing that. And thank you so much for your vulnerability and openness, transparency. And I just really respect your humility, but also your hustle, and you've worked super hard, and you deserve everything that's come your way. Hey, if people want to maybe check out your clinic, get in touch with you, what's maybe the URL or the socials that we can point people towards?
moveit101.com.au is our website. Where we're actually launching a new website next week with heaps of cool content, where we're interviewing all of our team, and we're doing a lot of video. Hence why I'm trying to learn how to produce video now. And then our socials, moveit101.physio for Facebook. If anyone wants to check out.
Nice.
Happy to share our content with you.
Yeah, awesome. We'll make sure we link all that up on the show notes. So listeners, clinicmastery.com/podcast. We'll link up Movement 101. All the socials and the Facebooks will be over there. Marcio, thanks so much for joining us, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thanks so much, Jack. Thanks for listening to me.
And listeners, thank you for joining us. As always, head over to clinicmastery.com/podcast. We really appreciate you sharing your time with us as you listen to this episode. And I can't wait to bring you another episode of the podcast again really soon. Bye for now.